Last spring, when Hannah and I were thinking ahead to our themes, earth teachers, and sermon ideas for this program year, I said, I want to talk about immigration on April 19th. Because geese migrate, why can't people? It was a great idea at the time. But a lot has happened since the time we wrote down that vague idea for today's service, so much so with the non-stop changes in immigration policy, onslaught of ICE action in Chicago and Minneapolis and around the country, protests and deaths, and so much more, that this week I was agonizing over having anything to say to you at all. Everything I could come up with was trite or completely obvious. Immigrants are good. We should oppose the criminalization of immigration and the violent tactics of our government. Yeah. Yeah, but that was like all I had. I was like, okay. Earlier today, right, thank you, Captain Obvious. Earlier today, in middle hour, many of you learned about the historical and political underpinnings of how we got to this place in our immigration system. Later today at 2 o'clock, we're hosting our ICE Out event featuring guests from Voces de la Frontera, a Milwaukee-based immigration advocacy group, to learn how we can support our local immigrant community and oppose ICE tactics. So all of that, we're learning, we're working, we're striving. What did I have to say to any of that? And so what I want to talk about today is how we respond to these issues grounded in our Unitarian Universalist faith, specifically our emphasis on relationships. As Unitarian Universalists, we don't agree on matters of theology or gods or afterlife, but we do have our shared guiding values. They're the ones with love at the center and the 6 other values around the outside: justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, which is JETPIG. That's right, that's our acronym, JETPIG. But I was looking at them recently, really reading through the words in those shared values, and I was struck by how explicit they are about how we should act in response to issues of immigration. 5 of the 6 values, in fact, say something relevant to the issue. Here are some direct quotes. We honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our part in it. We are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We adapt to a changing world. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We cultivate generosity in a spirit of gratitude and hope. I spoke on Easter Sunday about how we need to claim our place in the religious conversations shaping our culture. This is just another way that our faith has something important to say about significant issues in our world right now. This is not political. It's deeply moral. And just like the Pope has the right to comment on peace and war because he's the Pope, we too have a right to say that the kinds of suffering that we are seeing happening at the hands of our government right now is against our religion. I need us to get better at saying, that's against my religion. We're too like, oh, it's okay, everybody can believe what they want. What is happening at the hands of our government right now with our immigrant neighbors is against our faith. Our faith says we are all connected, that our world is changing, that we should change with it, that every person is sacred and our diversity makes us better, that every person, every single one, deserves opportunities to flourish and should be treated with compassion and dignity. As we think about ICE knocking down doors to an old man's home and dragging him into the cold, or sending countless families and children to be warehoused in crowded, unsanitary, and dangerous detention centers, or even the simple fact that we just don't have clear, reasonable, and timely pathways to legal immigration, our faith has a response. We are all human. We all have worth. And we have a moral responsibility to support compassionate, humane care for our neighbors. Many years ago, when I was an intern minister in Annapolis, Maryland, a wonderful and committed member of our congregation was a retired government official. He had served as the head of the Social Security Administration in Bill Clinton's cabinet. He was a hotshot, but also super nice. In our church auction, he bid and won the chance to give me, the intern, a topic to preach on. He gave me a scholarly article about why social safety net programs work better in homogeneous societies. Funnily enough, he ended up bidding on and giving the same article to the other two ministers the following 2 years. So they also had to preach about it. The premise of the article was that nations whose populations are more demographically similar, like in Scandinavia, they are more supportive of strong social safety net systems, like welfare and social security. Countries that are more diverse in racial, cultural, and other demographics struggle to enact policies that protect people who fall on hard times. The article explained that these programs, which cost taxpayers to support those who are struggling, are easier to support when a society is homogenous because people feel like they're supporting those like themselves. There's more of a sense that these situations could happen to any of us. But in more diverse societies, the sense that financial challenge only happens to those people is an easier message for the powerful class to sell. If we, who live in safety, who can afford a home and daily expenses and have not experienced a health crisis, feel like we're different somehow from the folks who need government support, we can believe that we did something to earn our safety and privilege, or that we're just simply more deserving of economic security. It was not an easy sermon to preach, because it's a societal reality that our faith works against. We believe deeply that even if it is human nature to think that we're different or better, we're not. Human beings are all precious with inherent worth and the same at our core. We all want safety, comfort, health, connection, love, and an opportunity to live our best life. What my heart feels when I worry for my children's safety is the same as what a mother feels in Gaza or in Venezuela about her own children. Now, speaking of Venezuela, I have shared before that I have some family who are from there, and some still live there, though others have had to leave. I visited Venezuela many times as a young child, a teen, and a young adult, and my memories are very unremarkable. Time with family, going to restaurants, shopping at markets, visiting some beautiful touristy places, taking my younger cousin on the bus to go see Lilo and Stitch at the movie theater downtown. In the 20 years or so since I was able to last visit, that country went from one very much like our own to one whose political and economic disaster has meant that over 7 million people have had to flee, finding safety and opportunity in places where they have no community, no connections, and they don't know the language. Places like here, in the Fox Cities, where a few Venezuelan immigrants are members of our fellowship's Friday Spanish-English Charla group. I will talk about that in a little while. Now, that article that I had to preach on as an intern minister said that people and societies are more likely to support social safety nets when they feel like it could happen to us. It could happen to us. It happened in Venezuela. I was an adult when I took my cousin to the movie theater in Venezuela. It was not that long ago. It could happen anywhere. It has happened in countless times and places in our world and our history. Things change, and then people find themselves the ones needing the help. Have any of you ever moved? Yeah, some of you a lot. Yeah. Have you got an apartment across town or relocated to another state for work or for family? I moved many, many times as a young adult, and every time it was such a hassle. When we moved here as a family in 2017, we had our young son, and it was exponentially harder. We arrived here knowing no one, except a few folks in the fellowship who had been on the search committee to bring me here. We had to find somewhere to live, somewhere for our son to go to daycare. We needed new doctors and dentists and a hairdresser and everything. I didn't know where the things were at the grocery store. Everything was disorienting. We had no friends yet. I said, I never want to move again. And we had moved from Maryland to Wisconsin. Same country, no legal issues. Same currency, same bank, in fact. Same health insurance, same language. And we wanted to move. We did it voluntarily. When I think about the people forced to move away from everything they know and love with little or nothing to places with even fewer connections, my heart breaks. Remembering that it can happen to us, that there is, in fact, no them. There is no them. That centers me back into my deepest values. As Unitarian Universalists, our shared values are ultimately about relationships. We don't come together in our UU fellowships and churches to become more pious and righteous individuals. There are some faiths where that is the goal, to individually strive for more righteousness. And that's fine, but that's not what we do here. We come together to come together. Because we know that encountering others in community is how we learn and connect and give and receive support and challenge our biases and grow in heart and spirit. A few years ago, I committed to using my sabbatical time to improving my Spanish skills. Like I said, I have family in Venezuela. I could speak Spanish, but not very well. I was very out of practice. So I spent that time immersing myself in my language skills, and I did. I improved my Spanish. Since then, I have helped to support our immigration justice ministries, and we started the Spanish-English Charla, which meets on Fridays. Some of us are practicing our Spanish in that group. Others are practicing English. We have created deep relationships with each other. It's really a family. It's really beautiful, supporting one another. Our immigrant friends often comment how loved they feel in our group. And I know for us English speakers, the connections we have made have broadened our minds and expanded our hearts. In addition to the Charla, I began volunteering as a tutor at Fox Valley Literacy, helping folks to learn English. For the first 18 months, I taught English to a group of Spanish speakers. It was a win-win. I could teach them, I practiced my Spanish, 2 thumbs up. But during that time, I also started teaching pre-literacy because I'm a sucker. And they said, could you teach this? And I said, yes. Hannah also helped us during that time. It tells you a little bit about us. The pre-literacy program is for folks who are learning the most basic English, learning how to read and write our alphabet. And most of them never even learned to read or write in their home language because of a lack of access to education. So they don't even have the mental scaffolding to know symbols equals sounds equals words. That class is so difficult to teach, it's hilarious. We have no words in common, like maybe one or two. I'm explaining how to write English letters on a line from top to bottom and left to right with no English. I'm using pictures of animals to demonstrate sounds, and I'm using so much pantomime that people would think I was developing a new form of interpretive dance. Last week, I was teaching a husband and wife who are from Syria. They had already learned most of our consonant letters. I was teaching the last several. They were in a heated competition with each other to write their letters better than the other. It was adorable to watch this man dramatically admit defeat when his wife wrote her W's better than him. In my attempt to explain the difference between voiced letter sounds like v and unvoiced like f, they taught me the Arabic words for voice, sautun, and quiet, hadi. Probably saying them wrong, but I told them I would remember them next week. Finally, I decided to swerve a little from the curriculum and teach them a vowel, just one, A, so that I could show them that these letters they had been learning for weeks could be put together to make words. The first word I did was hat, and then sad. Finally, I wrote the wife's name, which only had A as the vowel. Her eyes lit up, like a key had finally unlocked the puzzle. And then she told me her daughter's name, which sounded similar, and we practiced writing that. And the next thing you know, we're showing each other pictures of our children on our phones. I have 2, they have 6. At one point in my lesson, I got black dry erase dust all over my face, and she was laughing because I couldn't figure out how to get it off, and she wiped my face with a tissue. This Syrian couple and I have so much in common. A shared love of laughter and competition, a mutual dislike of snakes, which I learned when I was teaching them S, and ultimately a commitment to our kids. Their 6 beautiful children deserve to have safety and freedom and opportunity as much as my 2 do. This is what our faith calls us to have compassion, to not allow politics to harden us, to support immigration policies that allow people to be treated as humans, not as animals, not as headlines, not as statistics, to allow for the deep connections that remind us of our shared humanity. Amen, and may it be so.